And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Michael Dane, and you are here with us with What Did Prince Do This Week? This is a special show because our host, the great D'Angela, we gave her the night off. So she's out handling some business, doing her thing. And we want to say salute to her and send much love. But today we're going to have I'm going to be joined by some special guests, and I'm going to bring in one of our partners today, if I can. Sir, how are you, Zachary? Sir, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to be here. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Come on in. And as we always do, we always start this thing off with some music, man. And we get into the vibe. And we are continuing to spotlight some Madhouse related type music. So with that said, we'll get into this. This is Cape Horn from the great Eric Leeds from the Times Squared album. What's up? And as we do this, we're going to say what's up to all our people in the chat. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, D. What's up? Christina. Let me get through everybody. Sandra, what's going on? Cassandra was the first one. She was here early. I love it. And of course, Web Diva, Vanessa, what's going on, family? Yes. Trey, how you doing? So, fam, it's my mom's birthday today, but I'm here for a little while. Oh, we appreciate that. And happy birthday to moms.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. All right. Y'all gonna do like a little party or a cake or something? You know? But with that said, man, Zachary, how we doing this morning?
Not bad. Yeah, it's I'm in Columbia, Maryland, and it's warming up. I had to turn the fan on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a little hot over here, and we're gonna get today's conversation might be a little hot.
It might. It's gonna get steamy.
I get a little hot up in here. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about some more of the adventurous Prince songs. Interesting timing that D'Angelo is not here today, but I'm gonna
leaving the show to two men on for Vibrator and G Spot. That's very interesting.
Lord, well, actually, we're gonna break up our energy a little bit, and we'll welcome our other special guest into the room. Violet Brown, how you doing this morning? Uh-oh. We can't hear you.
My fault. It's my fault. I muted my mic.
How you doing, Violet?
I'm okay. Some weird technical difficulties. Maybe it was because y'all are going to be talking about Vibrator and G-Spot.
It must be.
I'm just kidding.
Felt a disturbance.
Yeah, well, we are talking about Prince. So, yeah. Look. Now, we want to salute to D'Angelo. This again, we want to acknowledge Cape Horn, but in the spirit of Under the Cherry Moon, when my man Prince said, music's a little weak, you mind? And then they switch up the song, so we're gonna switch it up. We got it. This is a little party atmosphere. This is Saturday morning. Wake up, goddamn it! All right. Now this is also Eric Leeds and Prince. I believe this is 6.5. This is a B-side from the 12-inch.
I just randomly picked up this 12-inch, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it just happened to see it. It was record store day. I just happened to see it on the shelf, and I never see Madhouse. So
wow. Do you remember how much you paid for that?
Not much, to be honest. I think it was like $10-12. It wasn't bad. I usually, if it's anything Prince related, it goes up. But yeah, it's a steal.
Nice. Yes, sir. All right. We'll vibe for 1 second and we get started here. What's up to everybody in the chat room? All right, we're gonna fade that out. All right, woo. Now I'm ready. Now we're ready to get this thing started. So let's jump in and do our thing here. All right, so yeah. What did Prince do this week? Take the comment off. Sorry about that. This is a slow read of Prince studio sessions by Duane Tudahl through an interactive weekly online book club series. And we do this every Saturday. For me, it's every Saturday morning at 9. But for you on different coasts, it's a little different. But me, I got to get up early in the morning looking for another Prince love of Prince. So let me clear that up. Anyway. All right, we're gonna keep it going. I'm doing double duties here. I'm looking at the chat and I'm doing the slides and I'm talking. So, bear with a brother. But let's get some of the house cleaning out the way. The estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with What Did Prince Do This Week book club series, nor has it endorsed or sponsored the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. Further, the Prince estate the estate of Prince Roger Nelson has not licensed any of the intellectual property to the producers, advertisers, or directors of this particular show. So, in other words, they ain't got nothing to do with this. All right. So, there you go. What did Prince do? Again, we're going week to week, not date to date. So, we go from Saturday to Sunday of 1983. Of course, if you would like to follow the schedule, there's the link there. And also you can scan the QR code, all that good stuff. D'Angela has her stuff tip top. Like, I love it. I love it. Because if it was me, I'd be like, you can just find us at bubbly, bubbly, wop, wop, whoopie whoop. And keep it moving. But to be clear, you do not need the extended edition of the book to participate, though I do have that. Shout out to Duane. Well, you can follow us on the regular edition. You can also have the book in hand. You can have the ebook. There's the audio book. There's a lot of different versions of this out there that you can get into. Of course, this will always be archived on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/polish solid. I'm saying that right. So yeah, and what's up, chat? We see y'all. They're showing you a lot of love in there, Violet. They're showing you a lot of love. And of course, there is the hashtag, what did Prince do? Wait, what did Prince do this week? So I don't know if they didn't come out right, but there you go. They got all that good stuff, man. So, all right, we started things off with a little bit of Cape Horn this morning. Eric leads. You gotta love it. Real quick, just to go, because we got y'all in the room. I just gotta ask, like, are you a fan of this album? Have you listened to it? Have you listened to it in a while? I'll start with Violet.
I have not listened to it. I'm a fan of Eric Leeds, but no, I haven't checked this one out.
Okay. You should check this one out. There's some good stuff on here, definitely. Mr. Zachary.
I haven't either. And honestly, that whole side of Prince's music has been kind of a blind spot for me. I actually I mentioned I grabbed Madhouse the other week because I just kind of started getting into Madhouse, and it's great. It's kind of like, I don't know why I haven't checked this out. I guess because I'm like not that much of a jazz guy, but I'm trying to be more of a jazz guy. And everything I've heard of Times Square is really good. Actually, the last time I was on the show, D'Angela played a little bit of another track from Times Square, and I went to Discogs while it was playing, and then I immediately closed the Discogs window because it was like $100 for a record. So wow. Maybe it'll get a repress. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great album. It's kind of almost like maybe an unofficial Madhouse album. I believe a lot of the tracks that were going to be used for Madhouse stuff, but I think it lets Eric stretch out a little bit as well. So I think he had two solo albums on Paisley Park, this being the first one. But this has some one of the songs on here was the Dopamine Rush, which is really cool. I think it's an edited version of a longer suite.
Yeah, I know that from the bootlegs for sure.
Okay, yeah. So
not that I listen to bootlegs. If
hilarious.
Right, we believe that.
What's a bootleg? All right. And let's see. We just want to go through some of our stuff here. All right. So we here at week 21, 1983. I believe we are covering the pages of 87 through 90. So what did Prince do this week? He did 3 studio visits. So I had 2 songs that were tracked with an asterisk back to. And then I'm gonna make this a little bigger so I can see. This is the week. Listen, this is the week in Purple Rock. This was what Prince did this particular week. So from the 23rd through the 28th, and we can see we've got Possessed, which we talked about last week, which he started last week, Possessed and G Spot. I will say before we get into these songs, as much as we can only cover what's in the book, but I wonder what happened this week that inspired these songs, because my man must have been busy. Like he was definitely in a different space. What was going on? Because it's an interesting week of music. All right. So yeah, 3 studio visits. Tuesday, May 24th, 1983, the Kawa Trail Home Studio at the crib. Possessed, overdubs, Prince, engineer Don Batts assumed. And then what we're going to do now, we're just going to get into the book and we'll pick up a little bit of what we were talking about last week, because we're going to be jumping into Possessed. And so I'm going to jump to, I'll start with 87 here. This is Tuesday, May 24th, Prince overdubs. And then here's a quote from Matt Fink. It says, Prince could walk into a studio and play full difficult parts in one take that were just streaming from his soul. It was an incredible thing to watch. He got to that level. I just don't know too many people that obtained that, really. And it says additional overdubs reportedly done on this date. The track would eventually contain background vocals by Jill Jones, but it's unclear if that was done on this date or on another date. And one of the things we talked about last week was sort of what were our preferences of versions of this song, dating back to obviously the movie, the live performance there on Princeton Revolution Live. And so now I got you two here, if you could. I mean, and this answer will determine if you stay on the show or not. But Violet, what's your thoughts on Possessed? Is there a version that you love? And be clear, I think there's the movie version, what you hear in the movie. There's obviously the studio recording, and then there's sort of the live version.
Live.
Okay.
And I did want to add on the Eric Lees thing. I have seen him live in the last few years. I'm a Madhouse person and all that kind of stuff. I'm scared to death of him, so I don't really want him to know that he's one of the few people that really does. He intimidates me. I'm not gonna lie. Like taking a picture with him, like. But yeah, I'd say live.
Okay. Well, why does he intimidate you?
I don't. It's his demeanor, because his talent is amazing, like everybody else that played with Prince. But he definitely says whatever the heck he's thinking.
And he's a little cranky.
Yeah, like really, I don't know what it is, but I get super nervous. He's one of the few I get real nervous around.
Yeah. Every interview I've ever seen with him, he's like, "Well, I didn't really care for Prince's music." Always just like, which I respect, because like I know everybody else is so different, and Eric Leeds is just like, it wasn't my thing, but it was a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take it as Eric. He's just
he's a jazz boy, right?
Yeah,
like
he's a jazz musician, and they are always, I'm not gonna put him in a box, but they're so used to being at a high level. I would imagine, like, okay, they're like, yeah, that's Prince. He dope. But,
yeah, he's no Miles Davis. Yeah,
a lot of folk
that part, yeah. So,
and he's kind of he has this sort of excuse my language. He's a lot of anti-dick writing energy, which I can respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he was amazing.
What I like about Jesse Johnson too, he's a straight shooter. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. It's still, there's respect there, but they're gonna call it like they see it.
Absolutely. Well, Zach, I don't know if you gave us a preference.
Oh, I know this is a fraught conversation. So I'm gonna go with, I think so. I mean, honestly, okay, here's the
Here,
like more
here we go.
cowardly version. The more cowardly version is I love the 82 one and the 84 one equally for different reasons. But if I have to take it, but I have to take a stand. And so I'll say the one that I think the 84 with vocals that came out on Purple Rain expanded edition, that felt like a discovery because, you know, we'd all heard the instrumental one in Purple Rain, and like I didn't even know for sure. I mean, I assumed that there was probably a vocal track in the vault somewhere, but I didn't know for sure that there was, that we'd ever hear it. And so hearing it and then hearing how weird it was, like the thing you need to know about me is that I'm a big fan of weird Prince. I like, you know, I love anytime that there's like a breakdown or a, you know, like the hallway speech in Computer Blue or the moaning in Automatic or anything like that. And so, you know, Possessed, 84 Possessed has that in spades, and it's like it's creepy in some ways. You know, he really he took the Possessed, the, you know, the 82 Possessed is like, you know, he's speaking figuratively. It's about how horny he is, basically. But the 84 Possessed, he's like, it's like something out of The Exorcist, you know. So that's what I just really dig that. And honestly, I know that there's a lot of things that weren't great about, and I know that there is a better Purple Rain expanded edition in, you know, in the multiverse somewhere. The one we got was compromised. But I mean, just the fact that we got Possessed with vocals, we got We Can Fuck, which is like, oh my God, you know. So that's still an album that's really close to my heart, just in terms of what came out.
All right. Yeah. You know, and me personally, I just have to fall in line with the live version. That was I don't know if that was the first version, I guess the movie was, but it just connected with my soul. And he's just up there and just breaking it down. Just like, I didn't expect that when I saw it. I was just kind of like, wow, this guy.
And everyone is so different. Like you would not, if you hear the live version, which is like pure James Brown funk, you would not think, I mean, the 82 version is kind of that, but it's not really. And then the 84 is like a totally different, there could be 3 different songs.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that Prince can do, where he can take his songs and really kind of flip them. It still be the same song, but gives it a different spin. And it doesn't feel, and each spin worked. Like it didn't feel like he was, oh, let me just throw a James Brown kind of feel to this. And this was like, no, this was like an authentic type of feel. I was going to bring up to say, real quick to deviate, my son, he's 15. I just gave him the Sign of the Times album and sent him a record player, right? Because he's like, Dad, send me some music. And so a week later, I asked him the other day, I said, well, what did you think? And he was like, yeah, I liked it. It was really good. I sent him Sign of the Times, Purple Rain, and Sly and the Family Stone Greatest Hits. And so he goes, yeah, there was one of the songs, I think it was the second song on the second side or something. He was like, Strange Relationships or something. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I just was playing it over and over. And then he was like, well, wait, yeah, he started singing, but he was singing I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. And I was like, oh, he's like, that song right there. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, there's like, they just came out with a version that he did back in like 79 or something.
Oh,
and
man.
It's kind of different, but he was like, you would be tripping out if you heard how that song sort of evolves, plus the live version. And so it made me think of like this. Yeah, Prince can take these songs, man, and transform them.
That made me think of his the Third Eye Girl version. Totally different, like a bluesy kind of thing, which I love that version.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, yes. So, with that said, let's get to the vibrators.
Okay.
That transition right in. Listen, and let me be clear. Let me say this too. This is a family show. But today it might get a little disclosure. Yeah, so we might be getting in some adult conversations. So, you know, I just want to forewarn that, because some people have their kids watching or they play in the car and stuff. And I know if I was playing in the car and all of a sudden a man just said, we're gonna talk about vibrator.
Yeah.
So let's put that disclaimer out there. All right. So May 1983, date uncertain. I'm gonna call it at the crib. Vibrator, basic tracking, overdubs, producer Prince, artist Vanity 6, engineer Don Batts assumed. Zachary, sir, would you mind? Do you have the book? Actually, let me ask you that.
Yes, I do.
Well, if you could turn your page to chapter, we're gonna read today, Saints. We're doing verse May 1983 on page 1989. Excuse me, let me stop. On page 87, Zach, if you could take us and start with Vibrator, please.
Okay. So it starts with a quote here from Jill Jones. I remember being at the house, and I remember when Denise, Vanity, had this massager that she used, and it was for her back because she had a bad back and it sounded like a lawnmower. Just let me know when you want me to stop. One of the hallmarks of the Vanity 6 album was the humorous skit during If a Girl Answers, Don't Hang Up, and Prince decided to continue in that direction with a song called Vibrator, which was about a vibrating personal massager. The lyrics repeatedly explained that her lover's services were no longer necessary because her vibrator makes me feel so good. Oh my God, laughs. It was definitely for the second Vanity 6 album, recalls Brenda Bennett. Upon hearing the track again, you can hear in her performance that she had really improved, but as far as I could tell, there was no way he would release it, and he hasn't. That is Jill and Vanity at the end of the song, meaning in the skit with the shopkeeper. You want me to keep going, or you want me to
if you want, or if Violet, do you want to jump in, or
I have to get my copy. It's over there.
Don't worry about it.
Go ahead.
Nice little. I like how she's like, I don't have that one, but
no, I do have it. It's just I have an e-copy, and I didn't open my iPad. I can do that, but
I'm just messing with you.
I actually have.
I'll just go to that
and listen to the voice.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'll just go to the end of the section here. They went in the studio, and I think Susan Moonsey was there, and I remember just laughing, recalls Jill Jones. How crazy is that? I had forgotten about that. That was when we were all getting along. So yeah, like Jill, Susan, and Vanity, we all know why that's weird that they were all in the house together. But in May 1983, there was a detente, and they were all right. That was at Prince's house in Minneapolis. It's right before the Purple Rain stuff started going because Vanity hadn't left yet. We were all in the studio together, and it was easy to work because you could do your part and then go upstairs and make tea. Prince once again played a similar character as he had on If a Girl Answers during the 4-minute comedic section, which concludes with Vanity achieving an orgasm at the end of the song. Jones recalls her reaction when that section was taped. After I recorded my part, I ended up leaving the studio and went upstairs, and she went down there, and then that thing just makes loud grinding noise. As I remembered, it was like a lawnmower, and she alluded to me that they did this experimentation thing. Anything for art. I was watching TV, and it was really loud, and it didn't take a genius. There were a lot of things that went on like that in that studio for sure. For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Lord. So let me back it up. So they're saying that not only did they record the song, but let's just say maybe they did a skit.
Yeah.
With the actual
her batteries go.
Yeah, and you hear that. So actually, I have a quick little story about that. So I'd heard that story obviously from the book, but at the Triple Threat conference the other week, this is a little bit of a. I'm realizing now that this is gonna sound like I'm flexing a little bit, but so at the Triple Threat conference, there was a speakers dinner the night before. And Jill was there. She was like the guest of honor. And so we were like talking about Vibrator. And at that dinner, Jill, she might have said this somewhere else, but Jill said something that I've never heard her say, which is that it was for her back. So it was like, I think it was like a big flat, like you lay on top of it, almost like a vibrating bed kind of a situation. Okay. And she said that it took like a ton of batteries. And so in the skit at the end, I had always just thought this was a joke because you're supposed to picture this big monster, I'm trying to keep this a family show, but I always thought it was a joke where she's putting in the batteries and she's like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like so many batteries that it's like, imagine how big this thing is. But apparently that's also based on reality, and it really just was this vibrator, which was much more of a orthopedic device, really did take that many batteries.
Oh, that helps, because she was counting, and I was
She
trying to figure out what we were counting. I was afraid. Like,
are
vibration
these
is
D
good.
batteries?
Don't get,
Are
you know
they
what I
are they
mean? I was
triple
just like,
A's?
what kind of machine is this? It sounded like a coffee grinder. Like,
Lord.
I was afraid. I'm not gonna lie.
I think I've only heard this once a long time ago, so I have to really go back and listen to
You
that.
should listen to it again. Prince is really funny in it, doing that character where I know what it's for. She's trying to act like, oh, I just need these batteries for this massager. Okay, massager.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah, he says my back is acting up. It does that every time my boyfriend is out of town or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, it's really
It's
funny.
it's the voice that he does in If a Girl Answers, which
Okay.
it's like kind of Jamie Starr, I guess, but
Yeah.
also, a little more feminine. I think of it as Prince's drag persona.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
fair.
kind of
That's fair.
He as funny as that cat seemed to be, man, like he could have had a whole sort of comedic,
For sure.
like really
Yeah.
leaned into it,
For
you
sure.
know. Even so early on, he was extremely funny, it seems like.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think that's why so many people think that voice is Morris on If a Girl
Right.
Answers, because it's like it doesn't fit the Prince coming out of the smoke in the Dave Chappelle skit. He was his persona was so serious. But I mean, even
Yeah.
live though, he was, he would clown around.
Just to go there for a second, I mean, how do you think that would have affected his image if he would have sort of introduced these elements into his own albums, like the skits and funny stuff? Like, would it not be considered serious or something? Or it's curious how he leaves that for the other
Yeah.
people. Doesn't put any of that on him, from what I can remember. I think the
I
only thing that
do.
I would say is Lady Cab Driver, but it's like it's almost like it's played for laughs, but it's kind
Not
of not.
really. Yeah, not
Right.
really. It's not silly in the same way as If a
Yeah.
Girl Answers, or
True.
It's
Yeah.
a different vibe. And I think that's what it's about, really, is vibe, because you're in a certain place when you're listening to certain things. And that just reminded me, the thing I was going to say about Vibrator, to me, it sounds like a song like that Des Dickerson would have written, the vibe of it. And it's like that. It's like an
It's
old,
new wavy.
yeah.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. It has a certain sound to it. It's not my favorite. I'll just say that.
It kind of like it has that little organ. It's kind of bite the beat. If you were to compare it to a song from the first Vanity 6 album, it does kind of have more of a bite the beat feel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the skit for me that
Yeah.
I come back to, because
Me too.
Jill's really funny in it too. And I also think when I wrote about Vibrator, I said that I think it's Vanity's best, not just singing performance, but acting performance. I mean, she's like, the way her tone is just all over the place, but in a way that's like really amazing. She goes from, being like kind of huffy and frustrated to like deranged, and and then obviously the orgasm at the end of it. It's a tour de force. So it is like, there's a lot about that second Vanity 6 album that, again, it's that multiverse thing. It's like, if only it had actually happened. I love Apollonia 6, that album, in a lot of ways too, but I wish we could have gotten another Vanity 6 record.
Love Sexy here with a comment snitching on themselves. They said that skit from Vibrator sounds just like a scene from a Vanessa Del Rio scene from the 1980s. Totally classic skit in that song. What's Vanessa Del Rio, Love Sexy? We know. It's a famous adult porn actress back in the day, Vanessa Del Rio. How do I know that? I don't know. I do research. With that said, any other comments, things we want to talk about Vibrator? Anything we want to get off our chests?
I have some theories about so you were mentioning, Michael, like what was going on in Prince's life that made that produced these particular two songs in this particular week.
A hell of a week.
So I have a more concrete one for G Spot, because I do actually think that that was sort of like in the zeitgeist at the time. I think there was a book that came out. I'm looking at I wrote about this a long time ago, so I'm trying to refresh my memory. Okay, there was a best-selling book in 1982 called "The G Spot and Other Recent Discoveries About Human Sexuality." And so I don't know if Prince had that book, but I mean, it was probably like they were probably writing about it in women's magazines, and I think he became aware of it in some way. And then this is more of a coincidence, but I think it's interesting that 1983 was also kind of a watershed year for the Vibrator, like in the development of the actual device, because that same year it didn't get famous until or famous in mainstream circles until the famous Sex and the City episode, but the Rabbit, the vibrator with a external piece on it, that actually came out in 1983. Now, I don't necessarily think, unless Prince was like really hitting up the sex shop every week, I don't necessarily think that it was a direct inspiration, but it is a really interesting coincidence. And then even more of a coincidence, when I was writing about this piece, I'm always trying to find, like you can see on the screen here, this is just a random vibrator ad that I just thought was hilarious and like visually striking. So I use that, but I'm always trying to find photos to break up the wall of text. And so I think at some point I typed in Vanity 6 vibrator into Google image search with safe search off. And in fact, there is a vibrator that you can buy. It's on the market, and it's purple, and it's called the Vanity. And I know that would probably not have made evangelist Denise Matthews happy, but I think that somewhere Vanity is smiling. I think that's the
Vanity. My goodness. I hope the estate doesn't. They try to see some
I don't know what the estate would. They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
Maybe, I guess, as long as it's not in the shape of the symbol.
Oh, and Andy Ward said that in fact, Jill said that they were looking at a magazine article together that inspired
for G Spot.
So yeah,
that's in the book.
That totally makes sense.
I figured you were going to that next because that's definitely in the book.
Oh, okay, cool. I did not. It must not be in the section that we read today because I totally missed that.
The one that I have, like I said, it's in the e-copy, and it's definitely in there. She said
okay.
They were having a conversation. So she read a magazine article. I don't remember the name of the magazine, but they were talking about it. And then he left, and then he came back with G Spot. And now G Spot, that's a song right there. That's a funky song. I really did that one. That was a good one.
You're gonna be that. So real quick, just to finish off Vibrator, the song has also been sampled in other Prince things over the years, specifically in the songs 4 and 7 from the Madhouse 8, Dopamine Rush, Times Squared, and then Orgasm on Come Out.
Yep. That's the one I know.
Yeah, I mean, so it obviously for Prince, maybe I'm just speculating that he didn't forget that. Like that recording session and them songs from that day. He was like, yeah, I need to put that in this one. So that's very interesting. Like he held on to that.
I always wonder what Vanity Denise thought about that. Because I know that on Come, she's credited as She Knows. It feels very pointed. I always wonder like how that was received.
Yeah. Did she get paid for those or?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's a very good question.
Anything for art is
yeah.
All right. Well, Vibrator. Check it out. There you go. And also D'Angela's got these in here, and this is from the Twitter thread from 2020, June 15th through the 28th, and it was about Come. So you definitely want to check that out. Go back in your archives and also save the date. Coming soon in August of 2024 is the virtual symposium for Come 30. Man, so that should be very exciting. Looking forward to that. Come 30. Say less. So yeah, check that out. I'm trying to restrain
Clearly.
myself. Keep it moving, Michael. And then we talk about Vibrator here. And Zach, this is from your blog.
Yep. Yeah. It's been, I mean, this will tell you how slow I've been working lately, but yeah, it's from 2021. At this time, I'm slightly slower than real time, but it's so embarrassing that Prince could record music faster than I can write about it. But it is what it is. Prince was Prince. But yeah, so I wrote about Vibrator, and there's a little bit about G Spot in there too. I'm saving G Spot until for those who don't know, my blog is I'm going through Prince's catalog, or as much of his catalog as I can, chronologically, and writing about every song. So G Spot, I think I'm gonna save until the version that came out on Jill's album. So it's probably going to be a couple years before I get to that one, but I did touch on it a little bit because they were recorded so close together, and then they were also so kind of thematically linked. It was he had a week of just exploring new developments in women's sexuality in late May '83.
All right. Well, we're going to keep moving. We're going to get to G Spot, and I'll start reading here a little bit. So this is May of 1983 again. It doesn't have a clear date of when these are recorded, but G Spot, basic tracking and overdubs, Quad Trail home studio once again. Of course, Prince is the artist. Excuse me, Prince is the producer. Artist, it says Prince/Revolution. And here's a quote from Bobby Z. G Spot, we used to jam on that all the time. Prince continued working in his home studio, and during today's recording, he tried something different. When he was laying the track for G Spot, he went and got a saxophone, remembers Jill Jones.
Yeah.
Here we go. So he got the sax out, and he already knew the parts that he wanted. I could remember because I was like, what the hell? Didn't matter. I'm like the perfect cheerleader for that dude. It's great. You want to do brain surgery later? You can do it. You can do it. Come on. It's a couple of little knives. You can do it. But there he was, and he didn't stop until he got it the way he wanted it. The basic riff was Prince on a saxophone, and it was almost as big as he was. Prince's attempt on the sax was quickly replaced with keyboards, which would eventually be replaced by more elaborate horn section featuring saxophone by Bob Menzer, Chris Hunter, and Roger Rosenberg. John Faddis and Randy Becker, I'm saying his last name right, on trumpet, and Jim Poog on trombone. G Spot was a groove Prince had the band work on many times. As Bobby Z recalled, G Spot was almost a time riff, where it was like a song for the time or something. It had that synth thing and that lick. It was just the one tune he loved jamming on. The band circled around the main riff, with Prince adding some spontaneous lyrics, as if he were James Brown telling Maceo Parker to blow your horn and throwing a shout to JB's Mother Popcorn. Although the band may have rehearsed the track, it is unclear whether any of the Revolution actually played on it in the studio. Prince often recorded overnight after the band had left, and because he could do it all himself, he did many of his songs on his own. It's another quote. When it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I tried to get Bobby Z to come out to the studio, sometimes he'd come, sometimes he wouldn't. So G Spot. Dun, 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 dun. When's the first time you guys heard that song? That's what I was going to ask you.
I don't know.
You remember when?
I've listened to it again recently, but I don't know the first time I heard it. The first time I heard it, it was on Jill's album.
Okay.
And they're both, hers is more polished, but they're both very dope. And the bass licks are like automatic. That's what it reminds me of.
Mm.
Which Automatic is one of my favorite songs anyway. So
Okay.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard Prince's version first. I think they're the same basic track. He might have done some overdubs for Jill's. But yeah, that was when I started getting into the unreleased stuff and just going through this huge pile of MP3s. And what I remember is the stuff that I had. There was the finished version, and then there were also separate tracks for the bass and a few other things. So there was just the bass track. I guess randomly the multi-track must have leaked. I don't know enough about like the backstory of this to know. Somebody who's a little more knowledgeable in this area might know why there's multi-tracks for G-Spot, but it's cool to hear just the bass part, because yeah, like Violet says, the bass is it's great, and I love it whenever Prince plays the bass.
Yeah, there's I just remember there's also like a rehearsal version of this rolling around out there too that is absolutely funky as hell. I think it's just like Prince and Revolution.
Nice.
But just to the testament of, yeah, it seemed like they did jam this song quite a bit. Which
that means Brown Mark on bass, so that's real dope.
Okay.
I would like to hear that.
Absolutely. Man, and then D'Angelo had a cool picture here that I think this came from Chaz, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, this is I think this is like a program from a music performance back from Lincoln Junior High School. And what's cool about this is if you zoom in and see the alto saxophone section right there with that star, the young man by the name of Prince Nelson on sax.
Yeah, so it wasn't that it wasn't that crazy that because that's a pretty, I mean, I don't play saxophone, but I would imagine it's a pretty simple lick to play. It sounds pretty like, you could, if you'd played in junior high and not since then, you could probably go back and figure it out enough.
Yeah.
That I would love to see Prince playing the sax. Like that would probably be a head buster moment to be like, yo, this guy's playing the horns. What?
Yeah, I'm thinking it says alto there, but if the saxophone was almost as big as him, it must have been like a baritone sax.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that he's like, you know what? I need to get this done. I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And he's got it. He's got a sax available. And he's like, let's go. And I love that Jill's like, yeah, I'm cheerleading my man. Like, you got this, baby boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's dope, man. Real quick, shout out the Adult Symphony Channel. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Stone Freak, we see you as well, sir. Annie Ward. Shout out to everybody there in the chat. But yes, we're talking about G-Spot. One thing I always thought about the Jill album is that I always felt like, I guess this was a single. I was about to say it wasn't a single, but it was a 12-inch, wasn't it? Was Jill?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I just felt like this should have been. I felt like when I heard the album, I thought that should have been the lead single. Like to me, that just obviously the title is a little wild, but just musically and the energy of it, I thought that would be a perfect sort of. And it feels like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Prince song. Like it sounds like it would be Prince. It would almost actually, I would say, it would have been perfect in Purple Rain.
It would.
It almost was. It's in the script. If the draft, if you look the draft screenplay that is online, which is like an early version from when Vanity was still supposed to be in it, I think instead of Darling Nikki, I think he plays G-Spot. So yeah, it's weird. It's like it was almost on Vanity 6. But then they broke up. It was almost on Purple Rain, but then he did Darling Nikki instead. And then it finally came out. And I feel bad for Jill. Got all of his like 3-time hand-me-downs. It's just like they recorded in 83. The album doesn't come out until 87. She really put up with a lot from that man.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me add this. So the status here from the book, G-Spot 4 minutes and 30 seconds, was released in 1987 on Geo Jones's only Paisley Park record. A single edit version, 4 minutes and 2 seconds, and a remix, I remember this, was also released. The song was rehearsed with the Revolution during the summer of '83 and was included in Albert Magnolia's early drafts of Purple Rain script, but removed before shooting began in November. It was also one of the tracks slated for the benefit show that Prince would perform in August. Ultimately, it wouldn't be included in the film, and it doesn't appear to have ever been performed live by Prince. G Spot is listed as being recorded in May of '83, but there is a possibility that it may be from earlier or even 1982. So very interesting. Let me just read this last part here. G Spot was recorded before Prince's longtime engineer, Susan Rogers, worked with him, but she recalled a funny remnant that was possibly from the session. Downstairs in his home was a little utility room, and there was a little cartoon book sitting on top of his washing machine called Looking for the G Spot, or Where is the G Spot? I got the impressions that this was something that somebody had given him and which had then inspired him to write the song. Lastly, it says, other tracks that were rumored to have been recorded in Minneapolis during the summer of '83 are more difficult to date, including Climax, which is 4 minutes and 43 seconds, Electrocution, which is 12 minutes and 45 seconds, and Money, 2 minutes and 23 seconds, which he recorded for the time. It appears that the last two songs were written and recorded before '83 and will be covered in a future book in this series. Woo! I need to hear that Electrocution.
I know. That's I glossed right over. You were right, Violet. I glossed right over. I will admit, I was rushing to read the pages before we started, and I thought I was a good skimmer, and I glossed right over those parts. So yeah, it was in the book.
Yeah, that's just Electrocution, Money, Climax. This guy's got songs we ain't even heard.
So when people say that there doesn't need to be another Purple Rain reissue, I don't know. I got to hear that 13-minute Electrocution.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Okay, all right. Any other sort of musings on G Spot? Anybody in the audience? One of his great songs, one of the great songs by Geo should mention. If you haven't listened to that album, you owe it to yourself to give it a listen. There's some great stuff on there. And Stone Freak, Jill, they did Jill a little dirty because she was one of them. She was there for a long time, putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
The funny thing is she's the character on Purple Rain. You know how she's standing there and she always loved him, and she's just kind of in real life. It kind of mirrors that, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's the wild thing about Prince. It's just and she's always in my hair. Is like he could be so like just nailing the dynamic to your face. He'll just say, yes, this is our dynamic. You worship the ground I walk on, and I can't really be bothered. Here's this song that I wrote about it, and it's just like, it's just the weird contrast between this like incredible self-awareness and just complete lack of emotional intelligence at the same time, somehow in the same person. It's incredible. Well, I was really gesticulating there. Sorry about that.
He was a Gemini.
So yeah, there you go.
Thing where you can disassociate from things. You can act like you don't feel it because you actually don't feel it. That's how it works. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember what I was watching last night, and I was kind of thinking on the same lines. Something, I don't know, I was watching a Love Sexy concert, but I can't think of what triggered that. But I thought that was interesting about Prince is like, as much as I was thinking, that's what I was thinking. His persona of how he presented himself on stage and on records to a degree versus who he probably really was. Were very completely different things. And sometimes it took a while early on when I got into Prince that I just assumed he was the guy on the records, and particularly on stage when he was always laughing and smiling. But you can see it. But then you started to hear the stories sometimes, and it was like, he can be hard on people. Like, you didn't want to get it. You didn't want to be in his radar sometimes if you work with them. I couldn't understand. I was like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, but then I realized as I started really looking, I was like, you can see it peeking through a little bit, the pettiness, or just there's a certain look he'll do that it'll crack for a second. And I'm like, yeah, he probably was going hard sometimes.
He was.
Right.
He was. But I would say that it was still him. It was just a different version of him. Like,
Yeah.
so it was authentic because it really was how he was. That was just a part of how he was. And then on other days, he was a different way. So that's another Gemini thing.
There's a reason why Jill was so drawn to him, and put up with him for so long. Because the both of those things were very real. He could make you feel really special, and then he could be extremely cold to your face.
Yeah, it was. I was going on a tangent. I was watching the last song on the first side of the Love Sexy show. I'm tripping. Anastasia, when they do that song. And it's on the concert video, and it looks like at the end he was about to go into a guitar solo or something where they break down the song at the very end, and it doesn't. He's streaming, but you can't hear.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And then he kind of like puts it down. I was really looking at his face, and he looked like he's like. I could see he was frustrated, and then he just kind of gives whoever it was the guitar, and then he just kind of goes up to both Miko and Levi as they're playing, just kind of whispers in their ear, like, I can see he's like, yeah, somebody get me fired up. Bullshit, we gonna wrap it up, man. And it's, I was like, man, I was like, yeah, I can see it. Stuff happens, and sometimes you could see like he's a person, like, yeah, this thing go the way, but he's so professional that he doesn't really allow the audience to understand what that is. He just plays it off and keep it moving. Which is
a TV broadcast. Like that's the definitive Love Sexy show for a lot of people. And and there was a huge technical glitch in the middle of it. So that's pretty amazing too.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to his professionalism of being a performer, and he doesn't freak out when those things happen. He just rolls with it. You even see the footage where he be tripping or falling down, or of course when the fans just get super all up on him, and he just makes it a joke. But I imagine he was probably like, how the hell y'all let her get up? Really? Anyway, bringing it back. So
some good stuff going on in the comments, by the way.
Yes,
just want to shout out. Rodney had some good points. C. Lee, hey C. Lee.
What's up?
C. Lee's comment makes me think about that movie Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, okay. So sometimes being an artist means that one must create emotional barriers from people to keep them from intruding on the art, especially if one completely submerges oneself in one's art. Ooh, okay. I dig that. And yeah, shout out to Rodney. I see you when he brought up the song Wednesday. Was also the one Jill Jones did for the movie. All right.
Yeah, just talking about all the different times that she was like almost in the spotlight, but got passed over.
And in the quantum realm, Jill Scott. See, I'm doing it. Jill Jones.
We love her too.
She's a superstar. Like she goes on to, she is the one that sort of shines from the movie that everyone's just like, oh yeah, Jill, get that out.
And she's just like so cool. Again, the Triple Threat. Like there were so many people. There were people who presented at Triple Threat who were not there every day, and she was there every day.
That's true.
I was so impressed. Yeah, I was super impressed.
That is true. All right, so week 21, and I guess this is so far this year. We've had 52 live shows. We have one after show, and then we've had 30 studio visits. Man, this is just from the beginning of the year to where we're at now. What, almost at the end of May?
Yes.
he's done more than most would do, you know, in a 2-year span, let alone just 6 months or something. 23 songs tracked. And here are some of the songs again: Electric Intercourse. We've talked about Wonderful Ass. Katrina's Baby Dolls, Strange Relationships, 1983. Jungle Love, Untitled Instrumentals, Chlorine Bacon Skin, My Summertime. These are my jams. My Summertime Thing, The Bird, Untitled Song, and then of course, If the Cake Can Make It Go, hey, nobody. And it ain't over. Chocolate. Chocolate.
Oh man.
Violet Kitty Cat. Boy, these songs.
Velvet.
Yep. Oh, I'm
Velvet.
sorry.
Yeah. Let's get back.
Wow. Hilarious. Hilarious. My Love Belongs to You. Sleazy. Promise to Be True. Moral Majority. Modern Air. Possessed. Let's Go Crazy. Vibrator. G-Spot. Whew. This is what? One award ceremony, one TV show. And these are ones that we've already talked about. The tapings, Solid Gold Show, April 4th. The 3rd Annual Minnesota Music Awards, May 16th. And I think we're jumping into some of this stuff. We talked about this award show last week, the 1983 Minnesota Music Awards. And D'Angelo has found some great, looks like, ads from the newspapers.
That's cool.
Here, yeah. So Monday, May 16th, 8 p.m. at the Carlton Celebrity Room. Tickets available at the Carlton and at Wax Museums. What's the price on that? It doesn't say.
And I know they've got footage from those because they came out. There was like clips from the Minneapolis News. Violet, are you? Michael says you might be in the Twin Cities area. Is that?
Yeah, I'm in St. Paul now, but I'm from Texas.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wasn't around for any of this.
That's not a Minneapolis accent.
I'm from Texas.
Yeah, I'm from Texas.
I was just curious if you saw there was like a local news thing that they showed, it made it to Twitter with the they showed Prince after the Time broke up. He was playing with the Time because Morris was AWOL. And I wish we could get, so it exists, but I just don't know, if it's ever how it's ever gonna come out.
Gotcha.
That was from the Minneapolis Music Awards.
I just want to play.
I guess it must have been the 84 one though, because 83 Morris was still in the picture.
Okay. Was this? Are you talking about the one where it was like Prince and Jesse and?
Yeah. I think that was the 84. It was either the Minneapolis or the Minnesota Music Awards, or it was the Minnesota Black Music Awards.
Yeah.
One of them. Yeah.
I remember this. So here's a comment from D. He said, "The looks Prince gave when upset with the band remind me of the look your moms gave when you were talking in the children's choir at church. Read, you're going to get lit. You're going to get lit up when you get home." I know exactly what you're talking about. That was my grandmother. Just a certain look. They look at you, and you just straighten up real quick, or it was going to be some straightening when you got home with that belt. That was a different time. Just off track for a second. Did y'all see there's a footage of Beyonce that dropped this week, and she was in concert and she was singing. There's a fan. He's just out of frame, but he is screaming the song at her. Like you can't help but hear it. And it's almost overpowering her. And she's so professional. She's and she just kind of looks at him. I always feel like she's the same way. She's so professional, but you could tell she ain't really with this. She's with the shits, but she don't want to mess up her bag. So she just give that kid a look like, And then she just jumped back into Beyonce and she smiles. I was like, that's why she's so popular, man, because she could easily probably lose it at so many times in her career, but she just like poised, seems unbothered. But I just was hilarious. Anyway, this here on screen is the nomination ballot for the Minnesota Music Awards. This is I'm telling you, D'Angelo, man, she on it. She's gonna get the stuff. So let's spend a little second here. Here's some of the nominees for this particular award. And of course, the ones we got spotlighted, 45 or EP of the year. My man Andre Simone nominated with Kelly's Eyes. Love it.
Nice.
Kelly's Eyes. Kelly. Andre don't get enough.
I would agree with that.
He don't get enough love as and he does, but
he deserves more. Yeah.
Yeah, we should maybe be diving into his albums and talking about them.
That'd be dope.
Little Red Corvette, Prince nominated. The Walk, The Time is on there, in 1999, Prince. So those are for 45 or EP of the year. Album of the year, we can see that What Time Is It by The Time is nominated, 1999 by Prince. Band of the year, we got Prince and The Time. And then, of course, in Musician of the year, we've got Prince listed there. Just to read some of the names: Peter Hamelin, it says Susan Lawrence, Steve Kramer, The Wallets, Peter Plath, Snaps, Chan Poling, The Suburbs, and then Will Summer from Tropic Zane.
Yeah, that's real local. I've heard of The Suburbs.
I know The Suburbs. That's exactly what I was going to say. I know The Suburbs. Yeah,
man. So these were the cats that was popping in the town back in '83.
Suburbs are still around. They still play.
Okay. Nominees for best keyboardist.
Ricky Peterson.
Yeah, Ricky Peterson. TC Jammers. I guess to a Twin City Jammers, like that. Hilarious. Shout out to the Peterson family. Bassist, we got our guy Andre Simone up there.
So good. Yeah.
Terry Lewis.
Nice.
And then Billy Peterson. I assume he might be related to St. Paul and Ricky.
The St. Paul is dope too.
Yeah, I think they're, yeah.
I will say the Peterson family, man, their name
talented.
That town, and
no
then
love for a brown mark. That's interesting.
Which is crazy.
Is that appointed omission?
They still was
like,
Andre.
they most people say that he played the most like Prince, and maybe they just thought, well, that's like Prince, so we don't need to actually mention that.
Yeah.
But he's good. He's super good.
Okay. And then drummer, we have our guy Bobby Z nominated. Shout out to Bobby. All right, we're gonna keep going. So male vocalists. Alexander O'Neal
messed up his own bad with that attitude.
He was his value. That's what he knew his value.
If you haven't read Alexander O'Neal's memoir, it's a good read. It's a real messy read. So I highly recommend that.
Okay, I'm gonna check that. Ricky Peterson.
There's a whole chapter about his stint on Big Brother, which ended with him using a slur against Perez Hilton and getting kicked off of the show.
Oh my god!
So there's some dirt from the Prince era, and then there's some real good stuff from later on. Exactly. Yeah. If you like a trashy memoir, Alexander O'Neal.
Wait. Alexander O'Neal was on Big Brother?
Yes, he was. I think it was in the UK, maybe. I think it was because he lives in England now.
Yeah, I know. He was getting his money over there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, okay. Ricky Peterson also nominated. Prince, of course. J.D. Steele.
Okay.
So salute to them. Gospel artist and band, the J.D. Steele Singers nominated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
R&B,
Carwell.
Yeah, R&B soul ethnic band. Duane.
Okay.
All right. It was 83.
Yeah, that was a little different.
Different time.
Ethnic.
I feel like we would have gotten it just from R&B and soul, but I guess they wanted to be really specific.
That's some funny style stuff back then.
Yeah.
Record producer nominated Andre Simone, Living in a New Way. Man. Prince, 1999. Engineer David Rifkin, but he's nominated for the Andre Simone work. So very interesting. Jazz instrumentalist Billy Peterson on bass, nominated. A female vocalist, Margaret Cox, who of course goes on to be Tamara from Tamara Scene.
Nice.
Patty Peterson, nominated, Peterson family, and then Sue Ann once again. That's somebody I need to catch up with. Sue Ann.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what's going on with her and what went on.
Yeah.
She's been pretty quiet since 2016, actually.
Really?
I don't
Okay.
I don't think I've heard has she been interviewed for any of this stuff? I'm not
aware.
coming to mind.
It hasn't.
Yeah.
Not aware. And then here's some of the credits for the program. Well, we're just gonna say salute to y'all and keep it moving. And here's the program of how things went. Looks like I see the JD Steel Singers performed. Patty Peterson to the performance, or maybe they're presenting these awards. Maybe that may be more of what I'm looking at. But here's something interesting. This is an ad. It looks like this maybe it was a record store called the Wax Museum or something.
Uh-huh.
That's a dope name. I like
This is basically saying, hey, you can get some of the nominees from the Minnesota Awards here. That records are on sale along with some of these other superstars. The best music from here in Minnesota, there and everywhere. And of course, you can see they got Controversy spotlighted on there. Andre Simone, Living in a New Way. Andre was hidden, man. Like they were showing him love. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
39,
Flashdance soundtrack.
Flashdance. Oh, what was the name of that song? Is it Michael Sombrero or something? What was it? Scatchagachi or something?
Oh, yeah.
He's a maniac.
Oh, Michael Bolton.
What's his name?
Oh no, I just see there's a Michael Bolton album on the grid there.
Michael Bolton.
His hair is taking up the whole album cover.
Wait. Yeah, these are some Eurythmics. Yeah, this is some good stuff. And look at the prices.
Yeah.
$5.99.
$5.99. Dang.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, that was kind of high. Like I was like, can I get my parents to get me $6? You got enough to go get one album.
Yeah. That's $40 for a new pressing.
Michael
Cimbello.
Yeah, Maniac. That was a staple on MTV back then. What was the old girl's name? Jennifer Beals.
Yeah, Jennifer Beals.
Yep.
Yes, sir. All right. Keep going here. I think we're giving out some shout outs. Nicole, if I'm saying this gentleman's name correctly, this must be his new. You got some new music out. No More Waiting. So salute to him. If y'all want to check that out, friend of the show, friend of the community. Just
I'm seeing in the comments that Sue Ann Carwell is going to be performing in Minneapolis Celebration Week. So that's great. Okay. That's awesome.
Let me see.
I just want somebody and Rodney says she's been on Clubhouse a couple of times. So yeah, I wish somebody would interview her, like we've heard so much from like, Chris Moon. Chris Moon is like, we almost have to get him to stop talking, but some of these people I would love to just hear from them.
Wow, Jennifer Beals auditioned for Purple Rain. Ooh.
That's right. I remember. Yeah, I heard that.
Ooh. That would have been interesting. Like I said, the main person that's interviewed Sue Ann is Tanya. Shout out to Tanya.
Okay. I'll check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, right on. Okay, I believe there's some other interviews on YouTube. Okay, yeah, shout out to Tanya.
Cool.
Absolutely. All right. Also, listen, we're going to give a lot of love and respect to Bill Lee, father of Spike Lee. And we said he was a musician.
Jazz musician. He played double bass. Yeah.
On a lot of the soundtracks.
He played double bass.
Yeah. So, man, 1928 to 2023. Man, what a long.
28. Ooh, he saw lots.
Yeah, that's 1928. Yeah, that's. Can you imagine?
He saw a lot.
Yeah. Can you imagine? And then to see your son turn into one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest directors ever.
Yeah.
And then have your son takes your music
Yeah.
and embeds it in his work. Like
That Mo Better Blue soundtrack, I actually have that. My dad had it when I was a kid,
Mm.
and I bought it as an adult.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, that one's a good one.
That's cold. Man, so salute to Bill Lee. Oh, man, I love it. I love the father-son dynamic. So I'm almost feeling that. And of course,
Oh,
Tina Turner.
Man,
yeah.
I thought she was gonna live forever.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Absolutely.
Isn't much you can say. But just I remember. See, the thing is, I was telling my daughter, it's like Tina Turner. I remember when What's Love Got to Do with It came out, the song, and I remember as a young person, like I just knew that she was from a different time, but it was like it was hard for me to understand. I was like, wow, she seems like young now. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, she's a new artist, but I knew she wasn't. And it was just an odd thing. Like she came out and killed it, and she was big, like just as huge as any other artist. And I was just like, yo. And at the time, I thought she was kind of older, but now I realize she was like in her 40s.
Yeah, she was like 43, 44, which is interesting. I was a little kid, and I remember my mom saying it was a comeback. It's like, she's a middle-aged woman. It's like, but I remember thinking, yeah, she's a grandma. I actually remember. I feel bad now. I remember thinking, but I was a little kid.
Right. And looking at it now, I'm looking like, God damn, she was back.
She was,
Like,
yeah. And she stayed that way for a long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. That's so salute to her, man. Just everything she had to go through to get to where she was and what she just means to not only women, but to just us as a people, us as a country, just everything is an artist.
To some young British rock stars like Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
On his way up,
It's never too late. Yeah.
My extremely white mom is torn up about it. It hit her hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tina Turner. I mean,
Yeah.
It's everybody.
Yeah, the legs. That's what my mom is.
What a just a testament to, and I'm gonna say this correctly. I mean, she was sexual, but it wasn't like gratuitous
or no. It was a powerful,
classy. Yeah, it was like
it was powerful and fierce, and she was 100% in control of it. It was very God, I don't even know how to put it. It's hard to put into words, but it was all her own thing for sure. If you go back and look at some of the older things, it's amazing. It's just amazing. Just the first few notes of her voice. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Tina Turner. And, if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to some of her stuff or watch any of her videos, take this opportunity now and just soak it in, be like, yeah, this is great. Or even if you just go and watch the movie.
Yeah.
I
love me some Angela Bassett. Oh my God. She was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost, and then that's the part too of artists that are just incredible is when their stuff spawns the next other people's careers sort of spawn off of that.
Angela Bassett said it changed her life. She said that film changed her life. And you see where her career has gone since then. She should have won an award for that performance, but that's neither here nor there. She was amazing in that. She's my favorite actress. Yeah.
And Angela Bassett embodied.
She did.
Tina Turner.
She really did. She really did. I went back and watched it this past week, and it's still, you feel all that. There are certain parts of it I cannot watch, but you definitely feel it. You feel it. And because I was younger, my parents took me to see that at the theater. My mom was a huge Tina Turner fan. And I just remember not realizing, wait, this isn't actually Tina Turner. This is an actress. Oh, okay. So they showed Tina Turner at the end. I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't actually really her because she was so good.
Yeah.
It's even I think was he still Larry Fishburne back then?
Back then, I think he was still Larry. I think
he
was still Larry. It was before the Lawrence.
Before my man, he just went.
That might have been what moved him, what upgraded him to Lawrence
I don't
was
know,
that
but
role,
he was
maybe.
acting his butt off in that film.
Yeah,
He was so
yeah.
terrible. I hated him.
His
And then when he switched to Lawrence, he became kind of
Maybe
superficial and
that's why, because that was such a you associated him with all that Ike Turner mess. Maybe
yeah,
it's, you
yeah.
know what?
yeah, that's fair. He might have needed to pull away from that because
And he did Mike, I could have my things. Did Deep Cover come before or after?
ooh, Deep Cover. Well, so I don't know what year that was.
Because he was good in that, but he was a very despicable guy in that movie.
He used to really now he was really good in Boys in the Hood and he wasn't despicable. So he had a thing where he
That's
did some
true.
pretty good stuff and then he became Lawrence, who just
He
never
was like, let me go be Morpheus so I could be a hero.
like
Yeah.
everything changed.
Yeah, but my point to say is that movie. I mean, if you want to have a biopic made of your life and it done right, that's could be a
Yeah.
blueprint to be like, there's some actors that can really go in and almost, like you say, almost become the characters. And some, as a kid, I thought that kind of it's hard to differentiate between
Yeah.
Tina Turner and it's like, but
She handled it. I love that Tina was involved with her. Like they spent time together before she made the film, and then Tina Turner and Angela Bassett were promoting the film together and all that. I love all of that. It's amazing.
Kim mentioned in the comments. There's also there we go. I gotta watch. I hadn't watched this yet, and now I feel like I have to
watch it. You should watch it. You will learn even more than you probably feel like you know everything, and then there's these small details that you go like, what? I had to call people. I'm watching the documentary going, Mama, did you know?
And then even just to see the footage of her, I think, it's worth it. It's got to be amazing.
Some amazing photos and stuff like that. The one thing that I will say, because I saw somebody talking about it in the comments, the stuff about Ike, when she was doing the touring with Angela Bassett for the film, and even far beyond that, like they had been divorced for decades, people would still ask her about him and what was going on with him and that kind of stuff. And you could see in her face, and she talked about it. Basically, it was like PTSD. She would remember what she went through when it came up. And it made me sad for her that people kept, like, years later, oh, I got arrested. What are you telling her for? Like, they don't deal with each other anymore. But they would do that to her in public, in front of cameras, and she handled it. She handled it very well. You could tell she wasn't happy, but she was what I call the laugh to keep from crying. She kind of laugh it off, tell a little joke, and then go on to something else. But in her interview, she talked about how it bothered her. So that documentary is definitely worthwhile, and she had everything to do with it. Everybody should see it.
Cool.
All right, yeah, check it. I just watched. I got halfway through so far. The Donna Summer
I need to check that
documentary, and I didn't
what
know
do you think
about her, and I was kind of blown away of basically what her image was, and then how the person that she was, it seemed to be totally different. And I just got a new understanding. I was like, wow. Okay, I just saw her as this glamorous star. So this sort of her.
You know what's funny about you saying that is in the movie and What's Love Got to Do with It? When Tina is about to do her comeback, Ike Turner tells her, "You ain't no Donna Summers."
That's right. Yeah, that was when he was off that narcotic, right?
Exactly.
Ike was wild.
He actually said that.
Hater personified.
And then look how it turned out.
Right. But yeah, salute to Tina Turner. Yeah. Absolute legend. All right. And then, of course, there's a playlist for a lot of the songs that are mentioned throughout the book, our book club experience. You can go onto the website here on YouTube and actually listen to those. So like you see G-Spot is up there, a couple different versions. Actually, there's 3 different versions up there. So definitely, this is, when we talk about it, then you go back and do your Googles. Deanna has already got it there for you. So that's great. That's great. Nice. You can vibe out and listen to this stuff. And was that it? I think that might have been it. Oh, you know what? I clicked on one of the songs. So there we go. We're not going to play that. And all right. So for next week, we're going to be on pages 91 and 94. So there'll be some good stuff in there. I haven't even looked to see what's coming up on that, but I'm sure it's going to be exciting. Good things going on. That was it for the slides. So we're going to come back to the video. before we get up out of here. And first, let me say thank you to everybody in the chat. I wasn't able to look at it as much as I should have been because I was talking and stuff, but we're definitely reading and we appreciate it. But we're not out of here just yet. Since I got these people here, we'll have a little more conversation if we can, just for a brief second. And what was I wanted to ask you? So we just talked about G-spot, vibrator. What's going through my mind is whatever year we would have been when these songs had came out. Was your mind ready for the concepts of G-spot?
Sir, sir. I'm gonna sit this one out. Just like you said, the age we were with. Never mind.
Well, that's your answer. I mean, well, then, obviously we're not, but
oh man, that's hilarious.
The thing, I always feel like there's a part of the Prince's songs that, I mean, as much as we talk about, I love all this stuff, but some of this stuff is interesting, sort of the lanes he was going down, and I just sometimes wonder, like, man, I always wonder, like, what the people around him think about it. And we've heard, even I guess people like Dez is like, yo, it's kind of getting a little too crazy, a little wild for me. Like, I'm kind of conflicting this. So I'm just asking. I didn't pre-plan this, so I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. But I love these songs. But I'm a man. I don't know. I mean, when it came out, I didn't really understand what vibrator meant. Like, I was like, what is that? Like, what's a vibrator? And I didn't think anything about it. G-spot. I remember when the song came out. At the age I was at that time, and probably some grown men could probably say this, I didn't know nothing about that.
I think there's a lot of grown men that could say that right now today, but that's neither here nor there. Sorry. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I just had no idea. I just knew it was funky. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just singing it. I guess I can remember when I would play this song and I'd be singing it, but I guess I didn't really know what the hell I was playing. I'm curious if there were other people that are around me who were probably like, what did he say in that song? What did you listen to? On the G-spot. Where could you be? Some lady like, it's over here. So I'm just kind of opening the floor, if you would.
Well, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but because I said something similar on the last time I was on this show, but I don't remember how it came up. But I mean, one thing that I think about as a parent now is that honestly, there are worse things. There's a lot worse things for a kid to be exposed, or I mean, define kid, but somebody who's maybe like starting to reach puberty or whatever, and starting to become more aware of their sexuality. And I honestly think that a lot of, I got into Prince when I was already older, so I'm not really speaking from direct experience, but I do know that I feel like if I have kind of toxic or negative ideas about women or sex, none of them came from Prince, Right. And I think most of his songs they might be explicit, but they're usually have a pretty positive attitude to them, and I think I think that's one reason why women respond so much to Prince, is that it doesn't make you feel bad,
right.
And I think that can be a good thing for a man, a straight man who's coming into his sexuality, to be listening to Prince and not, like Motley Crue or something. I think your just way of being sexual is going to be, I think, just more positive. That's just my.
I agree. And I'll just say this because I'm a person who got introduced to Prince by my parents. So, and my dad he didn't do a lot of the bootlegs and stuff like that. But I do remember like International Lover and there were certain songs where they were saying things I did not know what those meant at the time. But for some reason, my parents let me listen to it and sing it anyway. But it did not turn out to be a negative thing. And I 100% agree with Zachary in terms of it being positive towards women and drawing women in, because it sounds like this is a person who actually gives a doggone how I feel when I'm in this relationship.
Yeah.
And yes, dudes, check this out. So you know how to treat me when we're in this relationship. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
And the
agree with
stuff
you.
that wasn't positive, you know, like there's some really obvious examples like the Lust You Always and the Extra Lovable, and that stuff very notably did not come out, you know, and I think there's a reason for that. I think he knew that, okay, this is too much, you know, I pushed it too far.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Just Rule said my brother was a DJ, but only made underground mixtapes for us to hear, which dad and mom wasn't aware of. Do Me Baby was a shock to my
Oh,
ears,
man,
but I
that's my
enjoyed the
song. I
vibes.
love that song. One of the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you
But
know,
my dad would only listen to the Melissa Morgan version of that for some reason.
oh, really? Well, no,
Yes,
I
I'm
can
serious.
understand that. Yeah, you want to hear a woman saying that
Yeah,
too.
I'm serious that he would only listen to that version.
I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at him. Salute to Melissa Morgan. Yeah. Yes, yes. Seeley dropping with us. A prince never asked a woman to do anything that he wouldn't do. He paraded
That's
around in
fair.
his drawers, pouting for attention before he asked his women to do so. Also, he was often vulnerable in the songs.
That's fair.
Good point. Good point. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the payoff. Again, I want to thank both of y'all. Let me start. Ladies first. Violet, thank you so much for joining us today, coming on here. We so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Zachary, sir, thank you for making this easy for me and jumping on as well and bringing your insights. We appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, it's
Also,
great.
thank you. Also, we want to shout out D'Angela, wherever you are out there. Be safe. Home is waiting for you. We're going to see you next week. You know, thank you for letting me guide the ship, as they say. And of course, to all of the people in the chat, thank you so much. Everyone who's going to watch this later today or tomorrow or whatever, thank you so much. If you could help us out, please like and subscribe, spread the word. We want the rest of the Prince fan community out there to get up on this. And it's a fun place. We have a good time every Saturday. But like I always say, work it like a job. I'm going to see you next time.